Hi there, Janice Russell with Life Transitions Organizing, talking today about some tips so that you can stop missing deadlines during a life transition or any time for that matter. So here's the thing. For a lot of people, deadlines they're really problematic. And it could be deadlines that are etched in stone, or it could be deadlines that are vague, or it could be ones where you have to set them yourself. And so, one way to deal with this difficulty is to learn better task shifting. So, here's the thing, we are always moving from one task to another, whether it's from sleep to work, or from task A to task B, or from work to leisure. It doesn't really matter. The thing is that if we're not doing it effectively, then it backs up the whole entire rest of the day. And so I want to give you three different reasons why it could be a problem area for you. And then after that, we'll do a small example and a couple of problem solving pieces to it. So here's the first one, initiation. So for some people, starting a task is the barrier. Now, that can be because whatever it is you're supposed to be doing is something you don't like doing, or maybe it's too hard, or maybe you don't feel like you have the right skills. So that can be one reason. And the other piece to it is that you can be distracted by an activity that you're already working on and just forget altogether that you need to start this new one. But the problem is that not starting a task doesn't make it go away as much as we would like that to be the case. All right, next one is disengagement. So just as starting a task can be a problem, stopping one task. So stopping a task because you need to move on to another one. And that can be because you're just so engrossed in doing it that you don't even realize the passage of time. Maybe you don't realize that you even need to switch because you didn't necessarily look at the calendar. So you just focused in on this one and there you're staying. But again, knowing when to stop and switch to another one is just as important as starting one to begin with. Then the last thing is total time. Now, in this particular case, there are two ways of looking at total time. Number one is the time you think you need for the whole task. Number two is, which is more of what I'm addressing here, is the time that it actually takes you to switch from one task to another. So let's just say the end of the day. So you're thinking, yep, gotta shut down the computer, get to the car, 2 minutes and I'm good. Yeah, and you realize as you're doing it that whoops, you forgot you parked in the parking deck and you had to pay to get out of the parking deck. And so all told, it took 15 minutes and not 2 minutes. And so if you're meeting somebody for dinner, you're probably going to be late. So that's one example. Another example could be you're thinking, oh, it takes me 30 minutes to get from my office to my next meeting. Oh, yeah, you forgot that again, you had to get from your office to the car, then get out of the parking lot, and then get to the other destination and park and get inside. And maybe that takes 35 to 40 minutes. So, total time in terms of how much time do you need in between activities. So let's think about an example. So here it is, 8 a.m., you get to work, you have a meeting at 11, and as part of that meeting, you still have one part of your presentation to give. Well, so you get into the office, you're thinking, yep, still got to do one part, and you sit down to your email. You answer a few emails, and then you get to one email, and you're like, oh, gonna take time to do this. And so off you go, you got to do a little research, whatever, off you got to go. And then you find another one, and you're like, oh, yeah, I should do this real quick. I have time. And so you get to do that, and all of a sudden, boom, it is 10:30, and you're like, oh my goodness, now I am either going to be late or I am not going to have the presentation completed. Now, we don't want either of those problems. So let's look a little bit at the total time in relation to the tasks. First of all, in this particular case, I'm going to urge you to actually work on the presentation first. Yep, I know the email is calling your name, but if you want to be prepared, the way you can make sure that you're prepared is to work on that piece first and then spend time after that on your email. Now, if you insist that you have to do your email first, then we have to work on the disengagement piece. So if you get in at 8, then maybe you do emails until 9. Now, maybe you think that it takes a little less than 2 hours to do it. However, if you think it's only going to take 60 minutes, you still got to transition between finishing the presentation and getting to the meeting. And so the other piece is that maybe it takes you longer than 60 minutes. So we have to be prepared for that as well. So here's what you do. Start those emails at 8, set a timer for 8:40, set a timer for a different sound at 8:50, set a third timer with an even different sound for 9 o'clock. Bonus points for if you make it across your office that you actually have to get up to turn it off. And so then you'll have plenty of time. And hey, if you get the presentation done, you still have time. You can always go back to the emails. So, covered a lot, but it's a short illustration with hopefully some ideas that you can then apply to other situations where you're not switching between tasks very effectively. So remember, you can sometimes be caught up by the initiation piece, by the disengagement piece, or by the total time between. Now, if you would like ongoing helpful tips about organizing and productivity, then I urge you to go to ltorg.me, ltorg.me. When you complete the form, you will receive the top 10 ways to manage your schedule during life transitions, and then you'll also receive other tips and hints after that. Thanks for joining.